sprayed my CBD oil. I love this stuff. 2 spritzes, and it's 10 milligrams. Reduces aches and pains. Oh, yeah. And his hair was perfect. Work with me, people. All right, couple of interesting things. Fun stuff. I did get on the call with Pam yesterday, and I caught, and actually I'm giving you the recording. It's like the 4th link. No, I'm sorry, it's the 3rd link. Rocket Man didn't number them. It's Pam's conference call from yesterday. Listen to the first few minutes. This is her Take Action section on her Make Americans Free Again, and this is laid out as a blog, and I'm thinking of doing that with my website. But scroll down, you'll see the conference call, and then below that you'll see Tom Renz's conversation or presentation to the Ohio legislature, which YouTube took down, so it's on the website. Check them both out if you haven't. But here's what the fun part is on this. So I pop in, and it was crazy busy yesterday. I was uploading into Patreon, and I got a call, or I was talking with Harry Baby, and he wants to commence a legal action against Fauci in New York. I said, well, we need to discuss strategy. He wants to represent himself. I said, that's fine. And I could make sure you stay in the boundaries. But what Pam said on this, so I had that, and then Ned called me, and I mean, it was like exploding phone all while I'm trying to hurry up to get on her conference call and get this other stuff uploaded. And this has been very, very hectic. And I don't know, is it just me or is it everybody? Because I'm noticing everybody's crazy busy, very hectic, not being as productive as they want, but just lots of stupid things to do. And I checked the moon on that, and I just looked, and as I was coming on, the new moon is coming up tomorrow on the 13th, Saturday, and I think it's at 11 p.m. And I did catch it, the last sliver, I guess, yesterday morning, and I don't know, 5 in the morning, you could see it was up early. Wasn't quite the last sliver, so I guess the last sliver is now. Don't know what it's about. How about our astrologer campers out there? Say, what does this signify? What's with the energies, man? It's crazy. Anyway, the fun point about Pam is that she said, and I jumped in, a couple of minutes late, and she was talking about this last summer. She was talking with this attorney in Florida, and, we become good friends. Gee, was she talking about FJ? You listen. You decide. So I chuckled. I said, uh-huh. And she got the point. She's got a couple of my nuances a little off, but she's definitely in the middle of the road, so that's good. The bottom line is it's the issue, this the technique, and what she picked up on it is the technique of reversing the burden of proof, where you make them prove it. So she's taking that position, make the government prove there's an emergency, right? There's more to that whole discussion, and if you listen to this, the call, or a part of it, you'll see there's a lot of stuff that has to be, as they say in the new vernacular, unpacked. Yeah, it needs to be sorted out. There's a couple of nuances in there that'll sharpen this up nicely. But she did announce today, so the first link is today's video. That's her new channel on BitChute. It's called Pam's News or something like that. I put a link in yesterday. That was a good one. Today she announces a new lawsuit they filed in the state of Maine. Oh, good. And again, they're following the same strategy and structure. That's an interesting thing. And in today's show, what she's talking about is she reads a letter from somebody who, Indianapolis, I guess, and saying that, the woman gets terrorized, as many people do, when they go to various idiot stores and you get the hassle of the masks and the militant morons. As a female, I haven't had the problem, but I'm not your average bear, and I'm not a little female. And I wear the bandana, to let them know. You see, you have to do that to acknowledge to them that you're acknowledging the what do we want to call it? The new dress code. Okay. And if they say, well, can you put the mask up? I say, yeah. Keep whatever. You don't do it. Just answer the question. Do you know what time it is? Yes, I do. Do you have a watch? Yes, I do. What time does your watch say? My watch doesn't talk. You know, it depends how cute you want to get. Are we having fun yet? Well, what time is it? I know that. Obnoxious. You know what I mean? So let's get back to this. So her new channel, and I got to tell you, her plan is great and it works. And I took that, and they do email you. So I'm going to urge everybody. The page I'm giving you will tell you the email link. Fire an email. Get on next week's call, and you will get a list, a short couple of pages, basically of bullet points on how to set up local meetings, people, humans together, not Zoom meetings because everybody's zoomed out, right? You want people together, and how to set them up at local businesses and places. And even if you're in an insanely restrictive area, there are ways around it, okay? But she made very clear in the call we had the other night that she's not playing matchmaker. She is not putting, where's a group near me kind of thing. That's not her job. She is looking for help to build a database and a movement, and it's good. And it's the best one I've heard. So definitely please check it out. Get on the call. I'm going to set up a group here, and we're going to start doing that because taking action removes the feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. And we know one of the big plays, and I think our friend Cindy Sue made the comment, that the government is trying to impose learned helplessness. Yeah, I've said that years ago. This is the whole game, right? They want to indoctrinate and program people. You're helpless, the government will take care of it, and we're here to help you. Yeah, all shit, I'll say, boy. All right, just as an aside. So we've got that. Let me do that. A lot of interesting things, a little scattered, but stay with me. Del Bigtree. Now, they took him down a long time ago, and I know most of you all know Del. He's great. And I'm putting the channel to his The High Wire, the link here. And you can subscribe to his email, but he makes an error, in my opinion, because sometimes he sends out great emails, but he doesn't post it on a blog. He doesn't put a link and say, here, so I can't share it. So you should sign up for it. And I don't know, maybe we can reach out and tell him, dude, put a link, because if he writes a good report, if they have litigation and they get a positive result, he might talk about it on his video, but you need to put it out on that blog so you can share it, right? So the video he does once a week, and this was yesterday's. He does it on Thursdays. And there's two things here important. One is yesterday's video, and there are links and there are comments under it, okay, on the web page. And what's interesting is there's a comment to a link on what is it? It's a bit.ly, the shortened URL, to the actual interview of the major vaccine researcher doctor out of Germany talking with kind of a smartass out of Britain who's saying, well, you're sounding like an anti-vaxxer. And, just like, it's interesting. I watched part of it, but there was a chunk evidently of that video used in Dell's clip. But here's the main reason I'm putting it in. First, show you the page. Second, in this video that I watched, he's got a clip of Redfield. Now, Redfield was the ex-CDC head. This is unbelievable. And I remember seeing this live, and I was infuriated by it. Because what he says, Redfield testifying, either the Senate or the House, and he's got his little stupid mask, this little blue surgical mask that on the box it says will not prevent the spread of viruses and will not prevent COVID-19. Okay, and he says, well, this is the most effective defense against the spread of the virus and the pandemic. Now, he's not wearing it, he's holding it up. And he's sitting at his little witness table talking to these people, and he says, this may be even more effective than the vaccines. Now, really? So this is Redfield, head of the CDC, announcing this horseshit. So now he leaves because they got a Biden's guy in there now. And Redfield evidently takes a position for the state of Maryland, and he tells them that Maryland, as what, the chief medical consultant or something like that. Okay, now he tells them that Maryland should open up. So wait a minute. a couple of weeks ago, he's saying that, oh yeah, wear the mask and now Maryland should open up. It seems to me like it's a 180-degree shift. How do we account for that? Unless there's an agenda that's inconsistent with reality. And thus the title called Exit Strategy, right? Before we go into that, let's slide down. On this page of Dell's page, the next video down is a Mexican actor slash comedian who got an interview with Fauci. This is unbelievable and really needs to be watched. So this guy, pretending he's just a regular old stupid actor, actually has very pointed questions and gets on Fauci's case and demands answers with the word salad, tap dance bullshit. And he asks him about, well, what's been officially approved, the vaccines? So Fauci says, oh, well, there's 3 that are approved. Right? And then at the very end, he says, and they've received emergency use authorization. So there's several layers of discussion where you watch Fauci bullshitting and making stuff up and trying to double talk this guy. And this guy hits him 2-3 times with follow-up questions. It's great. How come no friggin' idiot reporters, Dell points it out, they stop it and then he talks, right? How come reporters at CNN or Fox or anywhere else haven't held this moron's feet to the fire? How come senators haven't held his feet to the fire? You remember when Rand Paul got into the discussion with him about how doctors make their decisions and they think they know best and blah, 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 and want to make a single unilateral decision for everyone. And, you know, they got into a little discussion and Fauci comes back with, oh, we're going to do that, he's talking about, right? Like the arrogance. But nobody holds him to the fire and they listen to his bullshit double talk. This is a great little piece. It's about 20 minutes long. Excellent. All right, so that's on Dell's site. And sign up for the newsletter if you want to stay up to beat on cutting-edge stuff on the development of our whole vaccine and COVID and the misconceptions that may be being spread out there by our official government officials. Imagine that. All right, next. The third link. First one is Pam's Today's Show. Second is Del Bigtree. Third is Pam's conference, where she talks about this brilliant attorney. So I sent her an email during the conference, and I said, brilliant attorney, with a smiley face. I said, I'm on the call, good stuff. She didn't mention this guy by name, so you never know. It could be somebody else. Maybe not. But you decide. All right, next. But it's always nice to hear that out there. Crimes against humanity. This I'm putting in. This is a bit of a fluffy overview, but it hits all the points. Goodwitchy put this in and sent a link, and hi there, Goodwitchy, in the Patreon account. And it goes over all of the components. Some of it is, you know, not proved. It is speculative, but it lays it all out. It's real good. And it's talking about, and I'm putting it in as crimes against humanity, about Finland and governments over there and how they are really abusing the crap out of their people. And I think it pertains worldwide. Now, they mentioned this group that somebody's on trial, and my concern is this Robert David Steele's thing with Sasha Cohen, and they've got that court of international justice nonsense, and they're facing 10 years in prison. By who's going to put them in prison? These little group of twits? This is like a circle jerk, right? They're just twirling, and it's like, this self-importance is endless. But there's a reference to that, which means anybody pitching that, I have to question big time. I was like the guy they wanted to arrest the Pope and charge the Pope with something. So when they physically tried to grab the Pope, and I don't remember which genius YouTube channel this was, a couple of years ago, the Pope was arrested, the idiot headline. I'm like, really? And then you look, and they're talking about this group, and they tried to physically apprehend the Pope, and the security beat the crap out of these people, and they probably arrested those people and said, you're trying to assault the Pope. So I guess the reasoning of law comes down to brute force. you can enforce the law. Otherwise, you can talk about it. And thus, I said, massive protests and the sound of smashing pumpkins will get their attention. Unless you wait too long, and then they're ready. They've taken all those pumpkins away. This is not a drill, campers. All right, so that I'm calling crimes against humanity. And now let's get to the exit strategy. And I hope you enjoyed and listened to my discussion yesterday. And I thought about it, and I think I'm absolutely right that whole McCarthyism, the era of the Un-American Committee, Un-American Activities, was a psyop. Because I spoke with Dr. Frog about this a couple of years ago. I said, well, McCarthy really wasn't very effective. But what he did do is demonize the notion of inquiring into un-American activities, right? So what a perfect setup. Make it look like the bad guys, therefore you can't do it again, and you can throw that label around. Let's have a little coffee. Now, what's the exit strategy? And Pam even said this to me the other day, and when I saw these other things, it made sense. She goes, look, they've created a disaster, and they can't figure out how to stop it. And I agree. However, the stopping it, let me make sure that microphone is clunking nicely for you, is they create therapeutics. You're noticing the new therapeutics? Who's coming out? Merck. These are not Mickey Mouse operations. They've got a therapeutic, and that is the link I put in a few days ago with Dr. Siegel, and it reduces virus load massively, like to zero. Very effective. I think they did these studies in Brazil, number one. Number two, there was another one that I saw scroll by on Fox News the other night, which I get furious because I don't want to waste my evenings doing that. I have other stuff I'd rather be doing. And it was talking about Eli Lilly. It's another company. Now, wasn't that Alex Azar's operation? Yes, it was. So they have a new therapeutic also looking good. So now you have two big boys coming out with therapeutics. Exit strategy? Sure. Now you can back down on all the bullshit. But the other big boys in that industry are still driving forward on the vaccines, even though it is not approved. It is an emergency use authorization, and you got to listen to Fauci on Dell's thing. Unbelievable. And people are just buying into it, right? You know. So I believe that's our exit strategy, their exit strategy, which may bode well. And I guess they've also officially approved, not officially for COVID, hydroxychloroquine. I was talking to Fusey over there in the UK, and his auntie did pass, and I think I mentioned that, and I offer my sympathies and condolences, and I guess the funeral is next week. I spoke to Ned last night. Last night, yesterday afternoon, whatever. And his wife's mother also passed. She was in a nursing home with dementia, 80-something years old, and she got COVID and died. Now, because I had some discussion with him, I said, well, do we know it was COVID? But I mean, how do you ask somebody who's just lost somebody, how did they test the COVID? Was it a PCR test? Was it a swab? Got a guy here as a contractor doing this monster roofing job that I've been negotiating with law firms on the back, and I think we have that settled down, so I should be able to focus back on the channel more. But the main guy, he's been out of the loop for about 4 or 5 days, and he says, oh, he had COVID. So I spoke with him. I said, you had COVID? He says, yeah. He said, it was pretty bad. I had a fever. I was sick. I said, well, what are you taking? He's taking zinc, turmeric, vitamin C, vitamin D, the whole thing. I said, are you sure it's COVID? And he said, I had the quick test, and that came up negative. Then they did the PCR, that came up positive. I said, okay, and you did it in Florida. Ask the lab how many cycles it ran. And I sent him the link to John Rappaport's article discussing that, right? So I don't know if you read that stuff. I put this shit in here for a reason, guys. So there you go. I didn't get a response. I said, did they test you for influenza? Sounds like a flu. He goes, yeah, it's like body ache and fever. Sounds just like the flu. Mm-hmm. But it tested COVID positive. So either way, the guy's pretty sick, and I didn't want to break his chops too much about not getting the roofing repairs done in a timely manner. But I said, dude, you need an assistant. Hire a girl, let them work from home, get somebody who's OCD, and tell her in the interview, your job is to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. Their headquarters is in Texas. So I'm like, I don't care. Hire them in Texas, man. Everything is remote anyway. But come on, we'll get that done. Because they said, otherwise it doesn't make you look good. And you're a rock star, man. So I'd shout out his name, but I'm not going to. Because if he's listening, he knows who he is. Doesn't he? Right, campers? Okay, so that's our exit strategy. I think the idea of the PSYOP was interesting. So now you can't challenge un-American activities like destroying the competition, I mean the Constitution. We have our walled-in protected president behind armed guards, keeping him safe from insurgents, when I think the real insurgents are inside that fence, aren't they? Curious. Now, interesting point. Who pointed this out to me? Celeste, and I needed some help on this. Take a quick look. HR-1. Now, the media is saying that this passed. Now, I was going off on it yesterday. How come the Senate didn't filibuster this? Well, what she said, this is from Celeste, she pulled it, and it doesn't look like this has gone through the Senate. Well, where's the actual reporting? Why aren't we hearing this? So the answer is you have to watch C-SPAN. You will get accurate stuff from C-SPAN. You can watch it online or on the TV. But I used to watch them every day, and they were amazing. I like the call-in show, America Journal, but I think what they've done now, just the way they have trolls playing on the web here and on the YouTubes and the social media, they have bots firing crap and they have trolls. I believe they have trolls with their talking points calling in, and they're very pro this or anti. It's amazing. And then occasionally you'll get Joe Citizen or Jane Citizen, and they'll give an opinion. And I always enjoy that. You kind of get the pulse from around the country of who's thinking what about what. So I haven't watched that in a long time, but they will tell you what bills are coming up and where they're at, and they will speak to politicians on C-SPAN and interview them there, and you can call in and interrogate them too. And yours truly has done that many times in the past with that quiet, shy, indistinguishable voice saying, well now. I got Richard Pearl on there, and I hammered him real good, little Mr. Neocon asshole back in, what was that, like 2005. And it was before he became a lobbyist for China trying to get access to the fiber optic cable. And that was denied based on national security purposes. Good work, Richie. Yeah, useless. Anyway, so what else did I want to hit? So we've got the exit strategy, condolences and sympathies to Fusey for his auntie, and we've got Pam's discussion in here. And that's what I've got for you now. And we don't know where that new moon is at. Interesting stuff. And you've got this whole discussion on the crimes against humanity, which I think the end conclusion is correct. Some of the steps in there may or may not be accurate. They talk about that new military-grade microwave transmission with a letter and a number. And, is it not? Where are we at with that? And a lot of interesting stuff. And the citations are some of the YouTubers who were out there completely obsessed with that, and they discuss this Agenda 22 minus 1. So, math skills, campers. There you go. All right, that's what I've got for you. And there was something else I wanted to say. Wait a minute. I have another page here. Oh, and I did post an extra link. I put the thing back up on the banking stuff in yesterday's video. You definitely need to watch that. That is from Harley's thing. That's the group out there. And the only mistake in there is the genius interviewing the researcher lets the researcher misspeak, and he says $18 billion instead of $18 trillion under control by these three massive private equity funds. And he doesn't say, well, you mean trillion, right? He doesn't say that. He just sits there like a lump. Useless. This is why I love interviewing George, because I do interrupt him. I say, wait a minute, reel that back in. Okay, and on that regard, I might be, the word is they're going to be coming to Florida, and I might be going over there and hang out with the crew. And maybe I'll interview him live like we did last year. That was fun. Up at the Singer Island. We both did a live stream simultaneously. He had his channel, I had mine. That was an interesting interview. And then I did a special thing just for the campers where I discussed various abusive policies of the Israeli government. I said, well, look, George, I don't want to put you on the spot, but really? Yeah. So anyway, and, that was the point. Got a call from Aaron, who is that Biden Belt Road BlackBerry thing that is, promoting George's presentations. And he said he knows the woman who did that excellent thing and that I can interview her. I said, absolutely. So we'll see if we could do that next week. So this is fun stuff. Hopefully, she'll probably check out the channel, and I'll keep my language restrained during our interview, as long as I can continue speaking in my high, squeaky voice. All right, campers, if you like the thinking, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. Pam's discussion is good, and what she talks about, and I'll just give you the nutshell, and I urge you to sign up, send an email, sit in on the call, and then you'll get the instructions on how to set up your own group. Everybody needs to do this. She wants to bring these cases, and where do you find an attorney? She says they basically come to the groups, and they are plugged into their scene, and they are enraged, and say, I'll do this. Now, the question is, how do you pay them? Because this is a full-time and a half job for these guys. But she answers the question and makes a very good point and says, look, by having the ground game of those groups, you do fundraisers. It's great. And she talks about it, and I'm sure she'll mention it again. And that generates the revenue for council. All right? And she says, those fundraisers, that's my finger tapping on the file cabinet over here. It's on beat. So the fundraisers, the funds go to legal fees. They're not paying employees. She's got her own business running over there, and that's how she's handling it. And she's spending a lot of her own money doing this as well. So it's all good stuff, but you have to be cognizant of that. You can't say, okay, I want to find somebody who's going to do it for free. You're not going to get somebody who's going to commit 2 years of their life full time working for free. You might. Now, if we know some billionaires who want to come in and sponsor us or this whole movement and litigation, send them a link and tell them to reach out, right? However, massive money and people got to work and they got to eat, right? And on that note, I urge you to support the channel because I'm not working, I'm doing this. So we've been keeping the boat afloat, and I appreciate that. And there are some great donors. They know who they are that are generous, and then there are other people throwing in the regular chunks, which are great. For some reason this month, everything has kind of dried up, and I'm like wondering what happened. They don't love FJ anymore, or they've just gotten like everybody's gotten hammered, and this economy that they're handing out $2 trillion. Oh, I'm sorry, $1.9 trillion hasn't hit the trickle-down theory yet. Unbelievable. Oh, wait, one more thing. The incongruity of this administration, the COVID horseshit. They want schools closed because 72 kids have died out of 500,000, and thus millions of children are being deprived of in-person education, in-person contact with friends, colleagues, and age group and population, right? Isolation, torture. So they're afraid they'll get COVID, so they want to open some schools, and some are still open, but the majority is closed, and this is a huge rift. That will wreck society because that's built into our system. So they did a nice job there, and nobody can talk. Now they're opening schools with the plastic shit and the separating stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? Some. However, in the COVID camps of the migrants coming over the border, they're loading these up with the kids. They're not allowing photography, no video allowed. And these guys are packed in there, and there doesn't seem to be any concern. They're at full capacity. They're fully loaded up, so there's no concern about the COVID of those kids. Are they testing them? Uh-huh. Why are they allowed to be there, but our American citizens are not allowed to be in groups because of the COVID? Hmm. As he sits behind his guardhouse wall with military security and issues executive orders. And this guy doesn't seem to be cognitively sufficient. He's fading fast. Not a good scene. So, I want to find out if the Senate has looked at HR-1. If not, they can be hammered by everybody and said filibuster it. However, they presumably set it up so Schumer can now destroy the filibuster. Or maybe they'll filibuster this bill and then they'll remove the filibuster. Okay? So this is very well thought out, and it is a team operation to undermine and destroy America and the Constitution. And on that unhappy note, there's still hope. Pam offers a lot of a game plan, and I'm trying to encourage people to get in there and hammer these mofos and let them know we're watching. If we don't reach out, they don't know we're watching. The big mouths that push the agenda of, what do they call this agenda? Critical race theory. Where's that coming from? Where is that coming from? Is that a state board of education? Is that a local county board of education? Is that a local school board? How is this crap being allowed to be inserted into the curriculum and or the policy? So the question is it because you have radicals that are out there that are looking to promote an agenda, and the so-called normal folk, the silent majority, are silent? It's time to engage. People need to get on those school boards, get on the Board of Education, get onto the county board that makes these decisions. And I guess every state is different, right? But when you have the big mouths that run this crap, they push this shit through. So it's a 3% game. The big mouths, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So 97% sit quietly. The activists get something done. Unfortunately, they're radical, and they are coordinated and organized, and you know this. So it's time to get active. It is time to get engaged, and they've worked real hard to make sure that those communication lines are non-existent and limited. But their communication lines have been built, reinforced, and run for years to make sure that everything is smooth. Well, now. All right, campers. Excuse me. Like, share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I think I said subscribe. All right. And please support the channel. Thank you, campers. We'll see you later. Morning thing, I don't know. The evening thing is good, and then I'll give you an update on the crazy guitars. For you guitar players, I put 9s on the Les Paul. They're a disaster. I don't know what I had on there. They're way too light. Oi! I'll see you all later. Thank you. Bye for now.